Welcome to the Showdown Podcast. This week's episode, The Road Trip to Nowhere, featuring Corey Caught on Camera Miller and his movie Road Trip, and his opponent, Vic Fallen Angel Miller and his movie Dogma, featuring your host and referee Brad Scott. Here's the showdown.
That's right, motherfuckers. I'm back.
This is the true story about Mackin. Check it.
Just drop that top. Come on,
Welcome to the Showdown Podcast.
I was wondering when you were going to start because
I told you it had about a minute. It had about a minute.
I thought we were going to do the whole song there for a minute.
No. Welcome to the show. We are today talking road trip movies. Two classic road trip movies. And you guys have any good road trip experiences?
I have too many. I hate road trips, but I always end up going on them.
Well, but I don't mean like going to watch your daughter cheer.
No,
like
I'm talking about driving from Florida to fucking New York City. Or
doing
Florida.
Drugs and
No, not
drinking
doing
along the
drugs.
way.
Drinking and partying, going to
Oh,
a
nice.
paintball game.
This is like before your kids and
26-hour
stuff?
paintball game. No, they were with us.
Oh, no, Vic, I don't know if you watch a lot of road trip movies.
My wife was driving.
My wife.
And heading up to New York City for a 26-hour paintball game, which included drinking and from 12 o'clock on Friday until 2 o'clock on Sunday. So you can say it was a fucking road trip from hell with a little bit of heaven in the middle.
I hope your wife's not listening. Corey?
No.
I'm only talking about distance with the hell part.
No. Most
save my ass.
Most of my road trips have been pretty tame. The only one I took was a couple years ago, driving out to Colorado. But most of that was at night, and I was, half asleep. So it wasn't very eventful, the drive itself.
So tell us, you have a Vegas road trip story, don't you?
Not Vegas.
Oh.
But I mean, yeah, several just
Jersey
road
Shore?
trips.
yeah, well, I mean, being out on the road as a comic, I'm sure you've got.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah. When people, that was more before like my daughter was born. When people I used to travel with and stuff to do comedy. Yeah, because then we would go like, we'd be between like North Dakota and Michigan, and anywhere in between, day to day, and you're just gone for 2-3 weeks, and you do anywhere from 13, 14 shows in a 2-week run. Or you can do, 19 to 21 shows in a 3-week run. And, yeah, that was crazy. But as far as, like, actual road trip, I mean, college, we went to spring break, took a van, drank on the way.
I lived in Florida
My
during
friend-
college, so it wasn't
Yeah,
far
you
to
did
go.
say, yeah. I do remember, though, my one friend, Chris Dowdy is his name. Went to Franklin Community High School, class of 2000. Good guy.
I think we've heard this name before.
It sounds familiar.
Maybe.
You have a lot of stories with
He
this
was a
guy,
character. Oh, well, yeah. Back in high school, yeah, absolutely. In college. But so we're going to Panama City, and he shows up to like the house where we're all meeting at to leave, and he's already drunk, which was always my favorite Dowdy, was drunk Dowdy. And so he's hammered, and as we're driving down the highway, he's got like the van window, because he's sitting shotgun all the way down, and he's like, hey, we're going to Panama City Florida. Police officers, everyone we were driving by like through this traffic jam. He's just yelling that out at. And yeah, again, just I remember just being in the back, just drinking beers and whatever and crazy things, smoking some substances.
I was gonna say, were you trying to not admit that part?
No, it was like I said. I've taken real road trips where crazy shit does happen along the way, and you might go broke and have to do some weird shit to make up money. Well, let's not talk about that. Actually, I will say this. My other crazy one is I one night drove when I went to Vincennes University in Southern Indiana.
Yes.
Just like 3 hours from Indy.
No, it's not that far. It's still in Indiana. It takes 2 to get to Louisville.
Okay. Well, I mean, but it's still probably it's at least like 2.5.
Yeah.
All right, semantics.
And exactly, and this was also 2000 to 2002.
Gotta find
way
a way
to
to
fucking
bust your ass.
derail!
Good
Jesus
God.
Christ! You couldn't even wait until we got to the battle to get one of them. I mean, what bearing did that have on my story?
I wanted to see how.
Thank
early
you,
in the-
Vic.
I wanted to see how early in the show I could get that.
And
for the record, it's like
what
7
bearing?
minutes in.
That had no impact on my story. I said 2 to 3 hours,
Yeah,
didn't I?
yeah,
Something
I'd
like that.
challenge it.
And then no, it's more like 2. I mean, it's only thrown to Louisville, even though that's a completely different part.
'Cause see, we were
and then
gonna-
the difference is, Corey. Also, by the way, I don't know if you know this. Indiana isn't flat across at the bottom. It actually tilts up. So Louisville could be up here, and it actually is closer to Indianapolis than Vincennes would be, which would be at the southern point of Indiana.
Okay.
So, anyways,
Back to the story.
I was 4 to 5 hours away from home.
We're gonna get flamed. Someone's gonna be like,
Vincent.
I was looking at a map and I looked at the scale, and you're all wrong about how long it is to get.
It's actually 1 hour and 45 minutes.
So, anyways, it's a few hours away. And one night, I did so much partying, I completely blacked out. And woke up the next day. I was partying in Vincennes at like a house party. I woke up the next day at my mom's apartment in Indianapolis. Not knowing how, why.
At least it wasn't a bathtub with ice.
No, my car was there. No damage. Didn't look like I had hit anyone. But don't remember anything. Just literally was at a house party and then woke up in my bed back in Indianapolis because I was thinking, I think I have class, but I don't know if I'm going to make it. So that was my crazy road trip story. Now, I think it's also time now. What was that music that we used? Do you guys remember?
that one was Kid Rock.
No. I'm talking about for our newest segment that we've added.
The Brad story. Mm-hmm. It was the British music thing, wasn't it?
We had the perfect one, if you remember correctly. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos since then.
I was going to say, it's been so long since we...
Does anybody
since we've done it.
remember
I don't
what we
remember.
called it? Oh, wait, it was Masterpiece Theater,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe we should have...
it was the British thing.
Maybe we should have thought about that before you told your story.
No, this is called. This is our newest segment to the Showdown podcast. YouTube advertising. Don't worry, you're only gonna have to hear 5 seconds of it. All right.
Or you could cut it out.
Yeah.
Make sure you cut that
In
out.
fact, let's cut that whole us finding it. Let's go right into newest segment. Does that
All right.
work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Start it.
All right, it's time for our newest segment here on the Showdown. Brad's History. Road Trip was one of my favorite movies in college because it came out in 2000, right as I was entering into college, and again was taking road trips pretty much every weekend back and forth from Indianapolis to come party and then go party down there too. And again, as a youngster who was into alcohol and drugs, I took lots of road trips. So very, very fun, great movie that I loved as a child. Dogma, also one of my favorite movies. Appreciated it a little bit more as an adult because with it kind of aligns with a lot of my religious views. So, yeah, these are two really good movies. I have a feeling today's going to come down to the argument. That has been Brad's history.
This is a historic day. This is a historic day. This is the first time on our show that Brad has actually admitted to liking both movies.
Yeah, I do.
That are in the show.
I really.
This is the first.
And did you see how excited Corey got when I
Yeah.
said? And that's why I did it that way because
Yeah.
I knew he would get. I knew
He's like, I did it again. I picked the one he liked.
I knew he'd cream the jeans on that one.
I was gonna say, oh wait, looks like I got an advantage already.
He must not have. He must have completely forgotten the 12-page conversation we had on Facebook about the whole thing. I don't know why you fell for it.
Yeah,
Which I'm fine with because it was funny.
I love. Yeah, I do. And Dogma, I love the satire look at religion because it falls in line with me not being very religious. So these are two movies that I hold dear to my heart. So I think it's going to come down to the arguments today. So let's get to the show. Corey, why don't you call the coin?
Sure. I'll call heads.
Siri, flip a coin.
Heads.
All right, you get your choice. You can defer or go first.
I'm gonna defer.
All right, Vic,
As always.
tell us about Dogma.
So I was on the ropes a little bit on which one of these to pick, and then I watched them both. My personal dilemma was which one to pick, whether it was going to be Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back or Dogma. I watched both of them in the time frame that you have 2 days to figure out which one you're going to watch, and then you have to pick. So I watched both of them, and I decided that Dogma actually was more fun for me because it was a story that wasn't just about a couple guys running around being idiots. It actually kind of had some of more of a story to it, and I found it a lot more fun to watch. So the story itself is about a crisis of faith from all different angles. You have the crisis of faith because you have two fallen angels, which is Bartleby and Loki, who one is is God's righteous fury, I guess you can say. So he's the executioner of God's will. And the other one is kind of like the herald of God's will. And they are cast down because they decided they don't want to follow God's edict anymore. So God casts them out of heaven and makes them live in Wisconsin for no good
That
reason.
is a pretty bad punishment.
So he puts them in perdition on earth, and they are there throughout time up to this point. They receive a letter that tells them of this loophole that would allow them to go back to heaven from an anonymous source. And the loophole was created by the Catholic Church, who decided they wanted to change the image of the Catholic Church.
Perfect casting
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely.
for the Cardinal.
Cardinal Glick.
Yeah.
So they...
By the way, that's George Carlin.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm working on
Oh,
it.
sorry.
I'm working into it.
Hang on, I gotta. You know the rule. None of us are immune.
Yes.
That was completely my fault. That may be taken into consideration in. Whoops. Yeah, that may be taken into consideration. So that's my fault.
Cardinal Glick decides that the Catholic diocese decides they need to change something, and Cardinal Glick, who's played by George Carlin, one of the greatest comedians of my time, that I think maybe of all times, depending on people's opinion, but he is the mouthpiece for the Archdiocese, and his church in Red Bank is trying to change the image of the Catholic Church from one of despair, which is he talks about the crucifix where Jesus is on the crucifix, nailed to the cross, looking all down in the lip, and they changed the look of Jesus to Buddy Christ, which is a working title. He makes sure that they let everyone know they haven't decided that's what they're going to call him, but basically it's Jesus pointing at you, winking, and giving you that it's all right look, which is hilarious. And they've decided that they're going to basically give everybody a pass on any transgressions that they've had, which will allow them automatic entry into heaven if they come and basically repent on this particular day. So that's the loophole that Bartleby and Loki find out about.
Wasn't that also in Scrubs? That little statue.
I think they had. Yeah, they did.
I felt like they used that.
They did.
They did.
They had like a smaller version of it that they used.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided they're going to go to Red Bank to try to get into this church, because if they do this, they will subvert the will of God, which is that he is never wrong. And by doing so, they would be able to go back to heaven, but it would also solve the problem that they had that caused it in the first place, which would be to basically end humanity altogether, because existence would end because God was wrong. So they set out to return to heaven, and that's their part of the road trip. So now, not only are they also having that crisis of faith, but you have Bethany, who's our main heroine in the story. She is a disenfranchised, infertile, what do they call it? Abortion clinic worker who believes in God and goes to church every week, basically for the irony of it at this point, because she's pissed because she believes in God. She thinks that, she follows the faith, but she's lost her husband. She can't have kids, and she's just pissed because God won't do anything about it, even though she's prayed to have him change her lot in life. So because of this, and because Bartleby and Loki have figured out how to get back into heaven, Metatron, who is the voice of God, because you can't actually listen to God speak, so Metatron speaks for him, and he's played by Reitman.
Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman. Is it Rickman?
Is it Rickman or Reichman?
I never know which way to say it.
It's Rickman.
Okay, so I'm going to look it up later. Watch it be Reichman. Alan
God,
Rickman.
such a douche.
God,
he couldn't wait.
Right.
He just couldn't wait to get in there with that.
He had to get all up on the
He
mic.
doesn't know the name of one of the main stars of
He
the
was
movie.
leaning
I
back.
couldn't figure out how to pronounce it.
He was leaning back with his
Everybody
hands
knows it's
clasped behind his head as if the police had just ordered him to put his hands up. And then he fully let him out, came into the mic with, it's Rickman.
So
He should be getting one of those for not knowing the name of one of the stars of his own movie. Thank you.
I'll leave that open for interpretation. Vic, go ahead.
So he comes in as the voice of Metatron. He visits her and tries to explain to her that he needs her to go to this church and stop Bartleby and Loki from entering before they undo existence. The funniest thing about this is when he appears in her room, she's asleep, he appears in her room, she jumps up and assumes that he's about to rape her. And basically you find out that angels are basically smooth as a Ken doll as he takes off his pants and shows her that he has no junk to perform the rape with. And she freaks out.
It's true. That man has no dick.
Okay, then.
That didn't come through well, no.
Thank you.
It wasn't bad.
So he explains to her what the situation is, and he explains to her that she will be visited by two prophets who will help take her on the journey to stop Bartleby and Loki from undoing existence. She doesn't really understand what's going on or really understand why she needs to do this, but she agrees to do it and sets out to actually she doesn't believe it at all until she leaves from work and she's attacked by three hoodlums who are called the Stygian triplets.
The triplets, yeah.
Even though they are not related in any way, shape, or form, and could not look any different than each other, who are Azrael, who is the main bad guy, the big bad in this movie. He is the one who sent the message to the angels to let them know how they could get back into heaven, because if the undid existence, then that would greatly help him, because he also is a fallen angel who technically was a muse who was cast down and sent to hell and is now a minor demon, who takes great pride in coming to Earth and to consume as much air conditioning as possible, which I guess if you were hell, that would be probably one of the top things you'd want to do if you ever got out. So he is the one who actually sends them on this journey to go to the church. The Stygian triplets attack her coming out of work because he's trying to stop her from getting to them because he knows about it. And in the process of that happening, we meet Jay and Silent Bob, who beat the crap out of the triplets and save her. And Jay makes a comment about being a prophet. And she realizes that these two idiots are the ones that are supposed to take her to Jersey. Through the course of this conversation they had, she finds out that they're trying to get back to Jersey, and she's like, well, why are you here in the first place? Which is the most inane fucking thing I've ever heard in my life, which cracked me up. They're there because they wanted to find out about John Hughes movies, and they believe that there was where 16 Candles and all these movies were filmed was a real place, and they thought they could get weed there, and they wanted to be the weed connection for this made up place.
And they thought they could get the chicks too.
Yeah, the chicks were easy. So in the conversation that she has with them, she realizes that they're heading to Jersey, so she's like, well, things are kind of falling in place, so I might as well find out what the hell's going on. Through the course of this, you find out that not only is Bethany the savior of the human race, but she's also the last scion, which, those of you who don't know, the last scion is
That would be me.
she is the last person on earth that has the blood of Christ in her bloodline. So she is the actual like great grand niece or something like that, I believe they say, of Jesus Christ. So in her travels, they're trying to get to Jersey. They start out, for whatever reason, they decide to let Jay drive and it's stick, and he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, so he destroys the car. They end up on foot. You meet Rufus through the course of this, who is played by Chris Rock. Great character. Basically falls out of midair and lands on the ground butt-ass naked. And we find out that he is actually the 13th apostle of Christ, which no one ever knows about because he's black and the Bible's racist, much like Siri. So he explains to them that he's actually Christ's best friend, that half the shit that they know about in the Bible is not correct, that they rewrote it. They wrote him out of it. You don't find out any of this, any of the really good stuff that happened to Jesus, and the fact that they skipped over his entire life from 12 to 25 says basically why you don't know anything about Rufus. So he joins their crew, and they head out to get to Jersey. You go back to Bartleby and Loki, who are, again, they're on their way, but they're also trying to figure out, they're kind of caught because they still want to do what they were originally set out to do, and before they go back to heaven, they can actually get away with doing some of the shit that they wanted to do, like taking down the false idol of Mooby the cow, who is a character that kind of crosses in through most of Kevin Smith's movies. Mooby is in there some way somehow.
He's the one from that's where the restaurant
in
they
Clerks
work-
2.
yeah.
Exactly. And so they go to Mooby headquarters and basically smite all of the executives of Mooby because of all of the fucked up things they do. One of the guys apparently goes to Singapore to meet young boys. One of the guys does strange things with his son. They're just really bad, and basically Loki goes in and shoots them all before they take off for New Jersey. Except for one who he actually was going to kill because he sneezed and she didn't say God bless you. So he considered that to be a crime. So they move out and they try to head to Red Bank to get to the church. As they go along the journey, so that's the next group of people on this road trip, and they're all kind of heading to the same place. They run across a muse who is played by Selma Hayek. Again, and this movie has a very star-studded cast in it of people that are very well-known and popular now, who back then probably weren't as well-known and popular as far as being like big-name stars, but through these movies have become pretty popular over the years. And I think Ben Affleck has a lot to attribute to being in some of the Kevin Smith movies.
Well, the
also,
casting was a thing that was brought up, and Kevin Smith said it was on purpose. To show like the distinctness between the characters, because he says, I think this is really funny. He says, to emphasize the contrast between the characters, Rickman as the powerful Metatron, for example, opposite Muse as the hopelessly verbose stoner Jay, a Shakespearean-trained actor of the highest order next to a dude from New Jersey. Smith warned Muse that he would have to take his acting to a higher level. I really impressed upon him that he had to be prepared for this movie. There are real actors in this one, we kept telling him. In response, Muse memorized not only his dialogue but the entire screenplay because he didn't want to piss off that Rickman dude.
Yeah, I've heard him say that. I've heard him tell that story many a time.
Yeah, he's on most of his podcasts when him and Jay Muse were doing their podcast. That was a very common story for them. You're taking my thunder, dude. That was one of my facts. You're killing me, man. You're killing me. That was one of my 2-minute pieces.
And I just wrapped it up in 45 seconds.
But
I ate this Cadbury egg so that I don't...
that I'm not supposed to be eating. I'm enjoying them greatly. So the whole process of this, it's kind of you see her go through the process of trying to regain her faith, and she's having a hard time doing it. And everyone's trying to talk to her and trying to explain to her what that things aren't as bad as they could be. Things are going to be better. But if they don't stop the angels from getting into this church, it won't matter. So she continues on. She soldiers on. They end up, like I said, they broke down the car. The angels got on a bus, tried to make it there, and Loki shoots them up, ends up off the bus. So they end up on a train all together at the next point. They all end up on a train heading for Jersey. They are literally sitting and talking to each other. Bartleby and the last Scion are sitting having a conversation, getting drunk. Well, she's getting drunk because angels can't get drunk because God figured out it was a bad idea to allow them to get drunk once before and change the rules on them.
He did that because of what they did prior to him banishing them to Wisconsin, because they got drunk and Matt Damon's character started going off. I don't remember the exact words, but he went off because he was drunk.
Right.
That's
he
why
basically
he didn't
want to uphold God's edict, and because he was drunk, and because he was drunk, Bartleby was able to talk him out of doing it. And that's what got them both cast down. Because he wouldn't have been cast down if Bartleby hadn't talked him out of doing it. The only reason why he was able to talk him out of doing it is because he was drunk. So he's basically taking shots and spitting it back into his cup as she's getting wasted. And in the process of getting wasted, she actually lets slip that she's the last Scion, and that she's trying to stop these two idiots, angels, from getting into the church. Which she's thinking this is like total bullshit. She's on this road trip, but she's like, this is too hard to believe. You guys are never going to believe this. And he's like, oh crap, she's the last Scion. So he basically grabs her and threatens to kill her. That's when everyone realizes that's Bartleby and Loki, because Rufus walks in after taking a nap and sees them and lets everybody else know, you idiots, you've been sitting here with the two guys we've been after the whole time. They get into a fight.
Well, let me stop you right there for a second. When this isn't really helping you any, but did you notice when Jay is smoking with Loki, he gives the joint to Matt Damon, and Matt kind of sticks his head down and attempts to smoke it, but if you watch, doesn't do it, doesn't even exhale or anything, because I think that goes along with them not being able to drink alcohol, so he pretends to do it. That was just a little touch that if you've seen it many times, you might notice that. But in the first,
and they don't actually say anything about them not being able to actually smoke weed. But I think anything that alters their state is probably illegal. That's what I would probably say is the truth. So once he realizes what's going on, Rufus basically tries to talk Bartleby out of killing the last Scion. And he has Silent Bob throw Loki off of the train, and the entire time he's doing it, Loki's like, "Come on, man, don't throw me off this train. Can't we just wait for it to slow down and I'll jump off myself?" He throws him off the train, and then they fight Bartleby and get him off the train, and they make it to Jersey. Now,
but hold on, there's a guy that's watching the whole thing, and he looks at him, and Bob looks at him and says, no ticket.
Yeah, it's like
quote from
one of
Indiana
the
Jones.
yeah. It's one of the few times that he talks in the movie, and usually Kevin Smith only does like maybe one or two words when he does talk, unless it's like one of these surprise soliloquies that he has. But the guy, and when he did it, he just kind of pointed at him with his thumb, and he's like, "No ticket," and just kind of kept on moving. So they get to Jersey. During the course of this, also, one of the main problems that they're having is the fact that God has not spoken to any of them and has been missing since the beginning of the movie. And they don't know why. They don't know where he is. But Metatron does make a statement that it's not uncommon for God to just disappear because he's a skee ball addict. And he likes to go to places and play skee ball. And when he does, he just kind of goes on skee ball benders and disappears. But he always shows back up. But this time he hasn't shown back up yet. So the entire time they're making this journey to this pilgrimage to Jersey, they haven't heard from God. And they're all kind of, and he's kind of getting worried about it. So when they get to Jersey, the angels finally show up there. In order for them to get in and actually make this work, they have to become human again. And the only way to become mortal, sorry, they have to become mortal, not human. The only way to become, nope, I skipped the part I need to go over, which is actually really fucking funny. I started talking about it. When they meet the muse, Selma Hayek, they're at a strip club because they disappear and they end up at the strip club. And through the course of this, she is like the ultimate stripper because she's using her ability to inspire men to make them give her more money. So every time she looks at Jay and Silent Bob, you hear this little ding go off, and Bob shows up with another $1. And then she looks over at this gang of like Crips that are on the other side of the bar, and she dings and they put up some more money. Or actually the leader of them taps the guy next to him and he puts up some more money. So this goes back and forth for a while until she figures out
I
who's
got
gonna pay
news
the
for her.
most.
She didn't need any of that. Just get naked.
Really?
They'll
That's
give you
all
all
gotta
the
do.
dollars at once.
Just they'll make it rain. That's all you got to do. So she goes to this whole thing, and you find out that Rufus figures out who she is. He's like, "Oh my god, this is the Muse," and she's actually responsible for all of the great works of art that have ever been created, music and art, both from like Michelangelo down to Seal, if we needed to go that far. So. She explains why she's there. She's like, I descended from heaven because I was tired of giving everybody taking credit for my good works and never getting any credit for it. So she wanted to create her own works. And when she got to Earth and started doing it, she got writer's block and basically had no muse of her own. So she goes on to explain this to them, and as she's explaining to them, Azrael realizes that they're gaining ground. They're catching up to them. They're getting more help because they've got the 13th apostle. They've got the muse with them. So he sends the Golgotham, which is the shit demon from hell, the devil's chief assassin, to go stop them.
Go ahead.
All right,
You're
freaking me out. I don't know what's going on. So he sends his chief assassin, which is the Golgotham, the shit demon, to go and stop them. One of the gangbangers took a shit, flushed the toilet. It overflows. The demon comes out of the overflow, walks out, and they're all freaking out because of how bad it smells.
The Corey of the movie.
Exactly. They're all freaking about it. They're all freaking out how bad it smells. And then he starts shooting his Mega Man-esque arm cannon of shit at them.
Also, there was a cameo in that scene. Ming from Comic Book Man is sitting next to Bob. Next to Silent Bob.
At the thing, yeah.
And if you're a comic book men fan, Walt Flanagan and Brian Johnson are also protesters outside the.
So, see what he's doing here is he's going in and pulling all of the facts about my movie for me, so that I don't have anything to talk about at the end of my conversation.
You want to mention
That's what you're doing. Bullshit. Anyway, moving on. So the Golgotham tries to assassinate them by launching shit at them, and they fight him off. They are having a hard time figuring out how they're going to stop him. And Silent Bob stands up, looks him in the face, and sprays him with spray deodorant. The Golgotham dies.
Well, yeah, because that's how you get rid of
Hey.
shit, Vic.
Yeah, you spray it with deodorant.
Yeah, that's how you get rid of shit smells.
I figured you light a cigarette, a match, and wave it around. That's the other way to do it. So Silent Bob comes to the rescue again and saves them from the Gotham. And like I said, as they move into towards the end of the movie, where they are approaching the church. This movie, like I said, has a lot of name stars in it, but also has a lot of Kevin Smith regulars in it. And like Corey said, they were actually protesters outside of the clinic at the beginning of the movie. Brian O'Halloran is in it, and he plays a reporter at the end of the movie. They're reporting on all the goings on at the church, and he ends up being basically eviscerated by the angels, who show up fully armored, and ready to go to eliminate the people and to basically get into the church and be exonerated of all their crimes. So Bartleby cuts off Loki's wings to make him mortal. Prior to this, he was not able to drink, so he goes and grabs a fucking bottle of vodka and gets wasted as soon as he loses his wings. Rather than going through with the plan properly, he gets drunk. And
Well, he wasn't really wanting to do it in the first place.
well, he wasn't wanting to. He was on the fence. He wanted to go home. They both wanted to go home. So he gets drunk and loaded off his ass. And Bartleby basically can't cut off his own wings. So his plan is, the plan was for Loki to turn around and cut off his wings, but he's so fucking drunk he's useless at this point. So after basically killing everyone around them, his plan is for the cops to all show up, basically shoot him and kill them as they walk as they open the doors to the church, and by that death would allow them to go back to heaven. He threatens to kill Bethany and end them all anyway, which he's just kind of like, it doesn't matter anyway, I'm just going to get rid of everybody. So the Muse jumps on his back and distracts them. They start fighting with him. Jay grabs Bethany and carries her back behind the sound system and prepares to have sex with her because she made a promise that if they were going to die, that she would consider having sex with him. And during the conversation, he mentions the skee ball, the homeless guy that has been left in left in the hospital, and they find out that is actually God because they found him playing skee ball. So she goes, resurrects him. God comes out of the church and stops Bartleby from getting in the church. And
Who is God?
God was Alanis Morissette. And they say, she's like, oh, God is a girl. And he's like, no, she's not really a girl. It's just whoever you want her to be. And that's the only movie.
The one thing
You have 2 minutes. That's the whole point.
Last time it wasn't 2 minutes. Last time you did that to me,
No.
I only had a couple seconds to review his crap.
No, that's why I said today while I was recording the whole thing on there, and I was like, yeah, I needed, you guys were like, wow, it took forever. And I was like, yeah, because I wanted to give you guys 2 minutes
Okay, so
when
we're
the
getting
music
the full 2
starts.
minutes
Yeah,
ourselves.
your
Okay.
intro runs out.
Then I'm good.
But you just wasted 35.
That's
seconds.
okay. So anyway.
well, here, let me say something else.
No, it's my 2 minutes,
No,
fucker.
it's his 2 minutes.
So he goes through. She comes out and she kills Bartleby and resurrects Bethany, who had actually had to come to the Dogma. She had, the pierced side and everything, but also impregnates her with the next scion. So she is actually tasked with raising the next scion and basically solves her crisis of faith. Jay and Silent Bob are back and they decided they're going to go back to the Quick Stop. So they make reference back to their own origin story, you should say, and that's the end of the movie. I made it right inside the line.
I wait till the music ends, and then I hit Mario Death. So, Corey,
Yes.
tell us about Road Trip.
All right, road trip. Let me pull my sheet up because I wasn't quite ready.
So are we going with an actual time frame for the discussion, or are you just deciding when the 2 minute goes? Are you giving like a certain amount of time and then the 2 minutes starts?
Yeah, we'll go, yeah.
What's that time?
Well, what'd you say, it was 25?
He was at like 25 to 30.
Yeah.
By that,
Okay.
by the end there.
Yeah.
Because you guys were having this whole conversation without me. I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck.
Well, no,
the hell's happening.
the beginning of the conversation wasn't about that.
Oh.
That was just him informing me of something he could have easily done in 3-4 minutes. Or not 3-4 minutes, like later on during the commercial break, he could have told me.
Yeah.
But no, I also, I mean, since we do a lot of this on air, anyways, I did have an idea while we were doing that we should start selecting parameters, and you get penalized if you don't use your full time. So we make it like, I don't know, 15 minutes.
Okay.
Because you will constantly be fighting the clock, and he will constantly be fighting to figure out something to fucking say.
Yeah.
So it'll really play with both of your dynamics. Like the time you leave on the clock can be held against you or whatever. But I don't know. We need to talk about that after we're done. I think that's a good idea. I just had that idea during the last segment. I think that's a good way to go.
All right.
So, all right, Corey, tell us about Road Trip.
Road Trip is the first feature-length film from Todd Phillips, who also did Old School. You may remember that movie. He also did the Hangover films. It's about 4 friends who take an 1,800-mile road trip from Ithaca, New York, to Austin, Texas. Not to be confused with Boston, Massachusetts, as Barry, played by Tom Green, confuses it with, and tells one of the other characters. Here's what happens. Josh, played by Breckin Meyer, is away at college. His girlfriend is in Austin, Texas.
Breckin Meyer, who was in everything in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yes.
I always contribute him to a wannabe who plays Hawkeye in I can't think of his name right now.
Jeremy Renner?
Jeremy Renner. They always think of him as like a cheap man's Jeremy Renner.
Well, he came first, though. So maybe Jeremy Renner is like a rich man's Breckin Meyer.
Either way, it's still there.
So Josh is going to Ithaca College, and his girlfriend, who he grew up with, is going to school in Austin, Texas. And while they've been away they've been separated for quite a while. He hasn't heard from her for a while.
His girlfriend, played by Cher from the TV show Clueless.
Yes, and as we've said in a previous show, Breckin Meyer was in the movie Clueless, so he's making a return trip to the showdown.
And it also had vampires in it.
So he hasn't heard from her for a few days, and he's thinking that she is ignoring his calls and probably is sleeping with somebody else. So
I can relate to that. I always think that shit too.
But while they've been separated, he's been making these daily videos, and his attempt is to send it the next day. He finally finishes one and sets it on the counter. Now, at school, he finds out that he has to get a B+ or better on his college exam in order to pass the class, or else he's going to fail. The girl that he's kind of friends with, but kind of wants to be with her, is also there too. And here's all this, as does the TA, played by what's his name, Anthony Rapp, who is making also a return from he was in Dazed and Confused. He likes
his go-to movie for everything.
Yes, he likes Beth, played by Amy Smart, and so he tries to sabotage this along the as the film goes on, which I'll get to in a second.
She's the other one that's in like all these 90s. She's always like the object of desire, or because wasn't she also she was in
she was in Crank,
Varsity Blues.
Was she
in Varsity Blues?
I don't know.
Maybe not. Also, but
you might be thinking of Jessica Biel.
What?
I think wasn't Jessica.
No, she's
Biel?
in Varsity Blues.
Well, was she?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she plays his girlfriend, his James Vanderbeek's actual girlfriend.
I don't want your
No
life.
lie. That's a Survivor Series we need to do. Holy shit. Coming soon from the Showdown Podcast. Survivor Series episode, Varsity Blues.
Okay, so back to
football season.
Back to Road Trip. You're cutting in my time. Time is tissue.
Also, by the way, she was in
both Crank films.
Friends. Just Friends.
Oh, yes. Okay, so anyhow, he goes to a party.
That's impressive, though, right? That's
absolutely
for a girl of her. I mean, she was playing in the early, in the mid '90s. She was playing like the younger love interest. Then she goes to Just Friends, where she looks like she did literally just graduate high school a few years before that.
You don't think she has vampire status, do you?
Not quite there. I don't know. I think Paul Rudd might be the only white vampire.
Yeah. Nice.
So anyhow, they go to a party the night before where
Maybe one of the Olsen twins.
Anyway.
What?
At
No.
this point, I'm just trying to interrupt him. Go ahead.
Damn it. So anyhow, they go to this party, and Sean William Scott plays Josh's friend EO. He's doing an auction, and I don't really know if they said what the money's going towards, but it doesn't matter.
Does Sean William Scott have the lockdown on like the
Everything right now?
No, just
Are you going to do this to every character I introduce?
well, no. But this is an interesting fact. You're not really on a clock right now.
Hold on. No. He should be on the clock.
But I will be.
You missed the point. He doesn't like he. When's the last time he's talked for longer than 10 minutes about a movie?
Well, I don't want you to help him with
I feel
that.
like I got all the time in the
I
world.
don't want you to help him with that.
Okay, we're going to abandon the minute idea.
Okay.
It's mainly just to keep you in control. I don't have to have a hurry up sound for him. Except hurry up and actually watch your goddamn movie and do your job. No, but Sean William Scott, does he have the lockdown on like the on like Goofy Best Friend? Who's muscular and a chick magnet type
the
guy?
Stifler like stereotype,
Stifler.
which is what started this for him. That was his like big
Role
kick.
models. He was that character.
That character is what he does in everything he does after that. So like
He wasn't
whenever
really-
they're looking for that kind of character, he's like the first
He's the
person
guy
they
they
pick.
call.
He was. I don't think he was really like that in Bulletproof Monk, though. I think that's probably the only one. Maybe Rundown.
Bulletproof Monkey was pretty much Stifler with karate.
Was
Yeah, pretty much.
It's been a while since I've seen it. but I
Stifler
was
does
thinking
kung
of-
fu.
Okay, so anyhow, they do this auction, and it's between Anthony Rapp and Breckenmeyer to who's going to outbid for Amy Smart's character. And because Sean William Scott is friends with Josh's character, he lets Josh win. He gets the night out with her. They end up having sex on camera, and the next morning, that tape inadvertently gets mailed to Tiffany.
Because unlike
His
Corey,
girlfriend.
his
And-
blog recorder worked.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
The ref knows what I'm talking about.
So anyhow, they realized the next morning that they inadvertently sent that tape out. It was sent by Ruben, played by Paulo Costanzo, one of Josh's other friends, and so they're like, "We've got to make a road trip to Austin to get that tape back and make sure." She
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
see it."
this is he's in that show on USA now, right?
Yes, that's about to end.
Okay.
What is it?
Royal Pains?
Royal Pains, yes. So anyhow, they start their road trip, but they need a car. So they contact Kyle, who is in one of the other dorms, played by DJ Qualls.
Was this his debut movie?
Yeah, I believe so. So
Boy, he thought he was a little badass after this. They gave him that one movie where the new guy,
yeah,
and then nothing.
he was in Supernatural in several episodes.
And now he's doing Z Nation.
Yeah, then he was in one episode of The Big Bang Theory.
Oh yeah, that's right. So they take his car and they go on a road trip to do this.
They don't even list his ass as one of the main characters on there. Like, they have a list of characters, like, starring. He's not in it.
DJ Qualls?
Yeah, he's not there.
Tough break!
So what they do is they decide to take a shortcut, much to his chagrin. He doesn't want to. They're like, well, he's like, it's not on the map. He's like, well, if it was on the map, it wouldn't be a shortcut. So they take the shortcut, but then they end up.
By the way, how fucked up is this that they're using maps?
Yeah, yeah, no. So they come to a bridge that's out, and they decide they'll jump it. Well, Stifler spits across to the other side and knocks the bridge out. So now they've got to figure out how fast they need to be going and whatnot. And they jump it, they clear it, except when they land, all the wheels end up falling off. So they get out to go get a tow truck, and then the car explodes. So at this point, they end up walking and finding a hotel. They stay in the hotel overnight, which the hotel is run by a cameo by Andy Dick. And he's pretty much a creepy version of himself, if you can get any creepier than he normally is already. But it's a very funny cameo where Paulo, the friend, Ruben, he goes in and asks if he's got any weed because he's a stoner, and he's like, no, I don't have any weed. but I got some child prostitutes if you want those. And it's just the attitude that he gives off. It's a funny scene. Because I think he's sitting there reading.
Which really does not come across when he describes it.
No.
Well, I'm a pedophile. Want to fuck some kids? It's hilarious.
It's so funny.
Well, to be honest, I'm not an actor, so you know. So anyhow, he also tells them that their card is maxed
let
out.
the kid fucking out of it.
So anyhow, he tells them that their card's maxed out, and so they have to figure out what they're going to do to pay for the room. So they Stifler ends up going and stealing a bus from.
Well,
a
technically, he
blind
doesn't steal it.
He borrows it.
He convinces her that he's he works for like the school or whatever, right? And he has to fix the bus.
He
Right.
talks a blind lady. into
Yeah, because
giving
it's a
him the
school
bus.
for the blind.
Yes. Played by one of Brad's friends, Marianne Reichkub.
I think it's Mary Lynn Rice-Cub, not Mary Ann.
Oh, you mean Mary Lynn?
Yeah, Marianne.
And second of all, why did you say Brad's friend?
Because his nose is very brown right now. That's why.
Didn't you open up for her or something?
No.
Okay.
Oh, look at that. You got all the fucking facts wrong.
Never worked with her in my life.
Wow.
Well,
what made you think that? Like, why did you think that happened?
Because I thought they did. I thought he did.
Did he ever tell you that story?
Yeah.
Apparently not.
There's no story to tell.
So anyhow, he gets her to believe that he's there to take the bus and get it fixed. So now they have their car. They end up going to a sperm bank to get money in order to pay for the hotel and then have the money then for the rest of their trip. Which there's a funny scene when they do that when she says there's two questions. I'm sorry. Before they do the sperm bank, they end up going to stay at a black fraternity house. Which,
Well, that's after the
no,
sperm bound,
it's before, because at the sperm bank she says there's two rules. You can't have sex within the last 24 hours. And DJ Qual says, well, I'm out. Because he had sex, he got really drunk and had sex with one of the black girls there. And so he was out, and you can't have smoked weed recently. So that meant that Ruben was out. So that only left Josh and EL. Josh goes by himself, but EL, of course, being the Stifler type, decides to lure the nurse into the room. And he's like, you want to give me a hand. So she decides to massage his prostate, which...
what do they call it? Milking the prostate, right?
Prostate. So...
just hurts thinking... Why would you call it milking?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I know.
So he likes it so much, and he liked it a lot. And then the end of the movie, you find out that he tries to get a girlfriend or a girl that he's with to do it as well too, which she is really confused by it. But anyhow, they get the money. Also, I'm trying to think. They end up staying at Barry's. That's Tom Green staying at his grandparents' house. Now, it's a very funny scene when they're introduced to his grandparents.
It's funny how he says he forgets, but he's literally going like section by section through Wikipedia's version of the movie.
Now, for the listeners at home, if they could see my screen, I have IMDb pulled up with just the cast,
which has the explanation of the thing on it, because it's the same thing as from there.
Would you like
it's
to come
the
around?
Same thing.
Would the judge like to come around and see what I'm looking at?
Literally
Take a
going
look.
word for word.
Okay.
Vic is challenged.
Okay, you can you can come here and look. I've got the cast list up. That's it. I'm going
Right now, he's got the synopsis is right there too, and the synopsis is this exact same thing, because I've been reading along with what he's been saying the whole time.
What? You have multiple screens, sir? You have multiple screens up, sir.
There is a Wikipedia.
What's your
right there.
What's your other screen?
But it's
What's the other screen? Wikipedia.
It is Wikipedia, but
Exactly.
Wikipedia,
but it's not what I'm reading off.
It's not what he's doing. It's not what he switched to, because he switched to the characters, so he has the name of the people
been on this
right
for the whole time.
I've been watching him go back and forth the whole time.
And if you knew this movie, you know I'm not even going in the right order anyway.
You are. Every single bit of what he said is in the exact order that's on here. Even down to where he went backwards. Where he went back.
Actually, because that's why I thought that scene was first too.
Exactly.
You just got caught.
Exactly.
I'm not doing anything.
No. Because here's the thing:
that's where I
if you
thought I
were
was
really
going
just
on.
going through, making a couple of mistakes is understandable. But you made the mistake that said Wikipedia.
What?
Where they
Which
talked
is
about
where-
the sperm bank, but then they jumped to the fact that they were staying the night at the fraternity, but it doesn't do it in order, so you went backwards back to the exact
Hold
same
on,
spot.
Vic.
That's
Where'd it go?
coincidence. I'm
It's
seriously
right here.
not even reading the
It's
Wikipedia.
Right here, look, right here.
Well, here I got. Meanwhile, Kyle's father Earl tries to pay for the meal with the maxed out carbs.
Yeah, and I haven't
On
said
their
that.
way to Austin, the group goes through a
You're
series of
summarizing the paragraph.
misadventures, such as making deposits at a sperm bank to raise needed funds. Ruben successfully lying his way into the group, staying overnight at an all-black fraternity house at the University of Tennessee, and a wild visit with Barry's grandparents. You were going in the order of black
Exact
fraternity house,
order.
and then you said, "Oh, but wait,
No.
no, they went to the sperm bank first."
It doesn't matter anyway because he goes that shit word for word anyway on his movie, so I don't want to hear it. Anyway, getting back.
You got caught.
Don't try to throw it over to me.
You can say all you want.
You know for a fact, as I'm saying my shit, I'm looking right at you.
But to
saying
be
it,
fair-
and most of mine's out of order.
But to be fair, of the argument of what was on his screen, he did just have the
yeah, because he switched over right before he was looking at the name of the person. I was watching his screen at the same time. That's why I brought it up.
Anyway, when they meet his
I'm just kidding.
when they meet his grandparents, it's real funny because his grandpa is sitting there watching aerobics on TV, and when he stands up, he knocks over stuff because he's got a boner, and he's talking about how he takes Viagra later on. There's a funny cameo as well too when they're at his grandparents' house. Ruben goes out to smoke a joint, and the grandpa comes out, and he shares it with the grandpa. The grandpa blows the smoke into the dog's face, and we've got a cameo from Jimmy Kimmel, who does the voice of the dog and says "I'm hungry," and then refers to the grandma and says, "Tell that bitch to make me a sandwich."
I don't know, is that really a cameo, though? He wasn't famous. when it
Yeah,
came
because
out.
they were doing the Man Show at that time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I
And
don't
I
know.
think
If that,
he's
I don't
probably-
think he was famous for the Man Show.
No.
though.
Not initially, right? Because is he the second?
He was the-
no, he was
he
the
was like
original
the
host. No, he
second.
was
Yeah,
the
they were
original.
original.
Him and
Adam Carolla.
Adam Carolla.
But
was the
Adam Carolla
originals.
was the face and name of that show. He was a sidekick.
Yeah, maybe.
He was
maybe.
definitely a
I
sidekick.
actually didn't watch the Man Show a whole lot.
And he also was on Win Ben Stein's Money, too. He was like the question guy, or whatever.
And it's MTV, right?
Huh?
Does it be When Ben Size Money MTV? Or
No,
is
it was on
Comedy
Comedy
Central?
Central.
Yeah. So anyhow,
That was a good show. They
yeah.
need to bring that back.
So they end up. Damn. Anyhow, they end up getting down to Austin. They finally end up getting to Austin and get the tape back. Meanwhile, as Brad said earlier, Kyle's dad tries to use his credit card and finds out that and this is backtracking just a little bit. Finds out that the card's been maxed, and then finds out that also that Kyle's car has been. They found out that it's been blown up, and when they go out there to see the car, there's a crime scene photographer played by Matt Walsh. He's got a funny cameo there where he's like, there's probably blood and guts everywhere. So telling this to Kyle's dad, which doesn't make him feel any better. And then they finally end up tracking it all the way back because he goes to the hotel and finds out where they were headed. He ends up down there at the college too, and then he finds out that he wasn't kidnapped, and there was a big fight scene there in the when they were trying to get the tape back from the mail guy, or the guy in charge of all the mail there. Meanwhile, Beth found out from Barry inadvertently the wrong place that they were headed. He told her they were going to Boston, so she goes there and finds Tiffany, the wrong Tiffany, tells her that she slept with Josh, and And so she starts going, the one girl, the wrong Tiffany, starts going crazy on the car, and then she realizes, oops, I told the wrong person. So she hightails it back, gets mad at Barry, who's still trying to feed this Reuben snake. And while she's there, Jacob shows up. That's the guy, Anthony Rapp, who likes her and says, oh, yeah, I sabotaged this. He called earlier, and I told him that he got an extension on the test, but he didn't really. So she finally... Barry tries to feed the snake. The snake ends up eating almost his entire arm, so he's waving the snake around. It's a very funny scene for me just to say it. Doesn't really sound funny, I guess. And then she gets a hold of Josh on the phone, Beth does, and tells him, you don't really have an extension. You got to hurry up and get back. So on their way back, he's trying to learn everything for the test. When he gets back, finds out there's been a bomb threat, and that she called in, and so it's been postponed, and he ends up taking the test later and ends up getting a good grade, and they all live happily ever after. As I said, EL ends up with a new girlfriend where he tries to massage his prostate. Josh ends up with Beth, and Kyle ends up with the black girl he slept with at the fraternity, and and Jacob, he ends up joining a cult, actually starting his own cult, which he tries to get everybody to commit suicide, and nobody does except for him, so he ends up basically killing himself. And Reuben, he develops a strain of weed that does not show up on drug tests.
So I haven't seen this movie in a while, but was Tiffany banging someone else?
No, she was not. They ended up deciding
just to be friends.
Just to be friends because of the distance. It'd be better off that they don't stay together. There is another cameo during the film when they stop to get something to eat. Horatio Sands from Saturday Night Live.
Mm-hmm. Now that's a cameo.
Yeah, and a very funny cameo.
Not
as
make
well,
me
too.
a sandwich, bitch.
Yeah, he. Who was it? It was Kyle. Says, I can't have powdered sugar. I ordered this without powdered sugar. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. So he takes it back, wipes all the powdered sugar off of it, sticks it in his pants, down the back of his pants, and rubs it around for a while, and then gives it back to him. And, of course, Kyle eats it. And Ethan Suplee, who is normally in Kevin Smith movies, he's got a very, very small role as one of the guys in the tour group that Barry is giving as he's telling the story throughout the whole film. It's breaking to him as he's telling this story, and we're seeing the story. And of course, he's making up a lot of the stuff, too. At one point, he does make up the fact that when Beth realizes that he had a girlfriend, he says that the girls were all standing around naked in the showers and just talking. And one of the women says, wait, you think women just stand around topless? He's like, yes, they do. And so yes, my movie, very funny. It still holds up. This is 16 years old, and I still laughed like it was the first time I saw it. And yeah, much better. And not to mention the fact, my movie, this is our topic is road trip films. My movie is titled Road Trip.
You buried the whole fucking lead on them. You didn't even tell them the whole point of it, and why the whole mishap of the whole movie is the fact that when they actually get there to retrieve the tape isn't even like the sex tape they thought it was. It was actually Barry just fucking mooning the camera forever.
Yeah, that wasn't. Yes, I mean yes, that did happen, but
that was a period point blank on the movie.
Yeah.
It went through all this stupid bullshit for nothing. And just because the movie is named Road Trip, that's why you think you get extra points because it's named Road Trip. The movie, the category was Road Trip movie. So just because you picked the movie named Road Trip doesn't give you extra points.
But here's the thing. Your movie, yes, they go from one destination to
which
another,
is a road trip.
But
they start out in a car, they progress on, they end up having to go to a train, they progress on.
You see those shelves over there? You could pick any one of those movies, and it does the exact same thing. They stayed on the road the entire time, and it's titled fucking Road Trip.
What do you think? What did mine? Did mine get on an airplane and fly somewhere? They started in a car. They were on a bus. They were on a train. Your guys got on a bus, so that's not a road trip. That's a school bus.
It's still a road trip.
Your argument is null and void.
Yeah,
you
I think
fool.
you're thinking of car trip. That wouldn't qualify for. I think
road trip
is
is
anything
traveling
on
from
the
point A
road.
to point B, dude. That's a road trip.
No, well, hell, the movie Elf could be a road trip. He goes from the North Pole down to New York. Is that a road trip movie?
No. You
are just going.
He doesn't spend the whole movie on the trip. That's 30 seconds of the movie.
All right. Well,
It's commercial time. All right, Corey, where can the people see you?
you can find me.
Vic, where can the people see you?
You can find me online at MillerKing51 or playing games as Black and Angry. That's BLAQ and Angry.
Shushing is just, it doesn't even sound pleasing to the audience. That was my mistake. Go ahead.
Okay. You can find me on Twitter.
No. You can find me at BradScottComedy.com. Most social media, Brad Scott Comedy or Comedian Brad Scott on Facebook. Corey?
Really?
I wanted to let you know that you can find The Showdown at The Showdown Pod on Twitter and The Showdown Podcast on Facebook. Click like somebody should. All right, Corey.
All right, you can find me on Twitter at NKOGonzo, and if you've got the Letterboxd app, you can find me at NKOGonzo as well.
All right, let's get back to the show.
This speech is my recital. I think it's very vital to rock
Around.
That's right.
On time.
It's tricky. It's uptight. Here we go. It's tricky to rock around to rock.
All right. We're back. This is our Road Trip to Nowhere show. And we have heard the arguments. I've heard the arguments. The listener has heard the arguments. And like I said, I love both of these movies. Road Trip was like my go-to movie when I was in college. I watched it so many times over and over again. Me and all my buddies smoke weed, watch that movie and everything else. And then Dogma,
We sat around and smoked weed.
pretty much, yeah. I mean, pretty much, yeah.
Same thing, same different,
But
same,
also,
same as different age.
But I had the same appreciation for Dogma that I did for Road Trip, just different reasons. I had a more of an adult appreciation for Dogma for certain reasons, but I had that same equivalent of appreciation for Road Trip as a college student at that time. Here's probably the thing. Here's something that went into making this decision. Vic, you didn't even argue your movie. You literally just described it. You didn't tell me why it was so much better than his movie, why it was a great road trip movie. It was literally just you walking through the movie. Corey, you pointed out reasons. The movie is called Road Trip. I'm giving the win to Vic.
Oh, Jesus.
I just like that movie so much more. And honestly, him describing the movie made me want to really watch Dogma. And you kind of breezing through yours. I mean, it was entertaining and everything else. But
Breezing through it. I spent more than 5 minutes on it.
I know. I don't know. That's for you. That's
I should
good.
get bonus points for that.
Yeah. But also, I was disappointed because I thought you were going to go with the whole, it's called Road Trip, bam, mic drop at the beginning. And you didn't do that till nearly the end. And the joke had kind of gotten to I don't know,
I know if I would have done that at the beginning and then not said anything else, you'd be like, you didn't tell me anything about the movie. I'm giving the win to Vic. And you can't even get your sound cues to the right level.
Always getting defensive.
It's always
now.
tough when I have to go back and forth.
He's getting defensive now.
Yeah. No, you're right. Vic gets the win. You know how it's just how it goes sometimes, buddy.
I'm going back to my 5 minutes.
You'll never know either, by the way. You'll never know whether if you would have actually used it at the beginning if I would have held it against you or not. I'll
you
say
would've.
that I won't,
Yeah.
but you can always have that doubt.
You know what's going to happen next time? He's
Yeah.
going to be like, we're doing shark movies. He's going to be
I really
like,
did
he's,
feel that
He's
way,
going to be
though.
like, I'm going to go with the movie that has shark in the title, and
Yeah.
he's just going to be like, shark movie.
Sharknado. There we go. Bam. Mic
And
drop.
then the gong over there, our new sound effect, the gong.
Sharknado.
So Vic
God.
gets the win today. Dogma over Road Trip. Road Trip put up a good fight. A good a good fight. But in the end, Vic made me want to watch Dogma more than you made me want to watch Road Trip today. So that's where the win's going. But they're both great movies. I hold them both.
They are really good movies. Like Road Trip. I watched it. I remember at some point watching it once, but I don't remember if I actually I don't remember what I was doing. I don't know if I actually paid attention to the movie so much. So watching it this time and actually having to pay attention to what was going on because I had no choice. It's an enjoyable movie. But my problem with it is I've never been a real big what's his name? Green fan.
He's kind of that
Green.
much though. Really.
No. But this is what I'm saying. I've never been a real big Tom Green fan. I think that's why I thought that he was a bigger part of it. So it turned me off from actually paying a whole lot of attention to it. But then watching it this time and realizing
nice surprise.
Yeah, most of it was that in there. But I did notice it was real easy for this movie to be as big as it is with the people that were in it because they picked a really good cast for it. So and coming off of Stifler being in it is instant. MTV was pushing it super hard. I remember MTV pushing it because Tom Green was in it. Well, with Tom Green being in it, they were using the publicity from the movie to push Tom Green on the TV shows. So I remember that being a big thing at the time. So, and I think that's why I thought Tom Green was more in it when I first saw it than he was gonna be. But it was a really good movie. I enjoyed it.
Would it have helped if I said Amy Smart gets topless? Would that
Amy Smart gets topless?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
It's
You
the
think
age of the
those
internet.
boobs
I can
are
see
shifting a
boobs
vote?
anywhere, anytime. It's the age where Playboy just gave up on showing boobs.
Let me ask you this: what's been the last great road trip movie?
Road Trip.
No,
come
Dude,
on.
I just
Okay,
what
it's been the last. I mean, that was 16 years ago.
What
What's
I
been the
just
one
watched 3 weeks ago, literally, was Vacation.
Oh, that was so horrible.
I liked it. I cracked up. It was
God.
funny.
That's my top 10 worst movies of the year.
I liked it.
Is Guardians of the Galaxy a road trip movie?
See,
No.
that's where, like I was saying earlier, where you could just pick any movie and say it's a road trip because they go from point A to point B.
You have to. Okay, so this is going to become the argument of the night. So in the movie, you have a destination. You have a starting point where you're at, right? And they say you need to travel to this point. And how are you going to get there? You're going to go on a road trip, right? So a road trip is defined as what? Going from point A to point B.
So that needs to
going
be
from
the
one destination
theme
to destination
of the
to
movie, the main theme.
Keep hitting that bike. Well, I mean, it just has to be that you're set on going to a destination.
Yeah.
So if you go to so like the spring break movies where they're going from college down to spring break, is that a road trip movie? If they're going from multiple states, doing things on the way, makes it a road trip.
If the majority of the movie is set on the road and not so much, here we'll show a couple shots on the road, and then the rest of the movie takes place all in Florida or wherever they're going.
Is Vacation the original? Is that like the quintessential?
Yeah, I think.
Is that the kind of the Michael Jordan one everybody thinks of and considers?
Yeah, that would have been a good one.
National Lampoon.
Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber's another good one. Rat Race, if you remember that.
Oh yeah.
And it's a mad world.
Here's AMC.com's top 10 road trip movies. Number 1, they have Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Number 2,
which is on a train, not on the road the whole time, so that wouldn't qualify for Corey because they were also on planes, so that shouldn't be on the list according to Corey.
True.
2 is Rain Man. Let me ask you this: is Mad Max Fury Road a road trip movie? Then
no.
Okay.
And I know it's on. Is that the IMDb
No.
list?
This is AMC.com.
IMDb put out, ironically,
a
put
list
out a
just
top,
like that too.
top
They
10
all do.
list, and Mad Max was on it.
Number 3, Easy Rider.
Yes, but that movie sucks.
Number 4, Smokey and the Bandit.
Ooh, it technically would be a road trip movie, but I don't see it as a road trip movie.
That's the whole movie. Burt Reynolds again this time as a bootlegger who needs to bring beer from Texas to Georgia in 2018. That's a road trip.
Yeah, I mean, technically it is.
Little
But I
Miss
don't think of it
Sunshine
that
at
way.
number 5.
I don't remember much of that movie.
Thelma and Louise at 6. Cannonball Run 7.
I love that movie.
Yep, me too.
Number 8, Muppet Movie.
Wait, which one is that one? Is that
The Muppet Movie where they go to Hollywood.
I don't.
Yeah, it's a road trip movie. They get in the bus.
That's right. I don't remember. I was so young when that came out. I don't remember much of it.
It's a great movie.
I haven't seen it forever.
It Happened One Night is number 9.
I don't know what that is.
And number 10, Two Lane Blacktop.
I don't know what that is.
No idea. What
Me
that is.
either. So that is their that is AMC. Now, so we obviously didn't do a very good job of coming up with the best road trip movies in the last few years.
Well, it's not my fault they didn't pick mine.
Yeah, even though it's named
No.
Road Trip, it didn't make it on the list.
that's
I'm
what
talking
saying.
about the
They
last
didn't-
few years.
But my point is it's on the top 10. His
Is the-
movie is named Road
Is
Trip.
The
and not
Wizard
even on
of
the list.
Oz a road trip movie?
No.
No.
How is it not?
Because
the
she
whole
traveled-
movie is them getting
She traveled by
from
house.
Munchkin Land.
Yeah, but she traveled by house.
No,
of
no, no.
course,
But
as
I'm
well.
I'm asking you.
Oh, me.
They travel. The whole point of the movie is to get from Munchkin Land to the Emerald City,
And they travel through multiple different areas of that world, so that would be
Meeting
considered a
people
road
along
trip.
the way.
Yes, that makes it a road trip.
So are you saying because they're pedestrians, it's not?
I guess.
Because your group is pedestrians at some point.
Yep.
Their car
That's
blows
why I
up.
don't understand what he's talking about.
I guess.
Oh, here we go. Boston.com
Your argument,
has
sir, is
20
invalid.
great buddy road trip movies. Let's see if we can find
Now
a.
these are buddy road trip movies.
Well, but
But
I
it's
mean, we
still a
haven't
road
been able.
trip.
Borat.
My
That's a
wife.
road trip movie. Yeah,
He's
the whole
there.
movie is him going.
From
Yeah.
his country to the U.S.?
No,
No,
he goes
he's-
from.
He starts in New York, I think.
Yeah, he's getting to. He's going to L.A.
Yeah, and then goes
to meet
LA.
Pamela Anderson.
Yeah,
And he's in that little van or whatever the whole
I
time.
love that movie.
Oh, yeah, the Showdown movie. I can't believe Due Date.
Yep.
Yeah, Due Date was another.
That was
one.
going to be that. I actually looked at that until I remembered that it was one of our movies.
Let's see. Yeah, they got easier. Yeah, it looks like this is more of the same. So Due Date's probably the last great one, right? The last good one that they've had.
Yeah, probably
Maybe not
so.
great, but the last good one. Now let me ask you: do you feel like, because Kevin Smith has said he has had consideration, especially after 9/11 and everything else, with making a sequel to Dogma? When's the last great movie we had like that really like took a shot at religion or something very sacred like that?
That's not religion. That's not
I don't think anybody's
religion
really.
based. I can't think of anything that's okay. So like you have what was it? The Noah's Ark one.
Oh, Noah.
Noah, is it was called Noah?
Yeah.
That one was.
I thought you meant Evan Almighty.
Well, there's those, but Noah, the Noah story was not.
That was horrible.
It wasn't, but it wasn't a biblically like. How the hell do I say this? So like the Last Temptation of Christ, that's like a biblical movie. Mm-hmm. Like that wasn't so much a biblical movie, though it was. Technically, they were traveling, so maybe it would fit in.
They were traveling by ship, so it's a road trip movie.
But yeah, I wish we
I don't think
had
there are any that I
something
can
more
think of.
like that, because I feel like we kind of need it.
Dude, you know what you should look up? Look and see what WW.
What would Jesus do?
Yeah, what would Jesus watch for Dogma?
Oh,
Because I can only imagine how pissed off they are about that.
Oh, jeez.
That'll be a good way to close out the show.
Yeah,
Let's see if we can
they're
get some
probably-
WW.
They've got to be in an
JW.
uproar. Do not see this movie. It's so blasphemous.
Oh wait, we have imaging for this. We have imaging for this. What would Jesus watch?
God, that was horrible.
What would Jesus watch?
Let's see.
Presented by WrestleMania.
So like, and I know like there was a lot of talk
It's got a
about how,
sponsor.
oh, this is him making this movie is blasphemy, blah blah blah. But there's a lot of people who are also like, yeah.
Oh,
it's
your
art, so
computer's
shut
gonna
up.
probably fucking explode when you click on that. They're gonna be like, "No, watch this! It's full of sin."
All right. I'll read the last paragraph because I think I'm trying to read through this kind of quickly since you put me on the spot. As a work of art, this movie begins and plays out with quick dialogue and game performances by the actors all around. However, at the end of the story, it bogs down and eventually becomes too long. Photography and special effects are only serviceable to the Kevin Smith script, which seems to be the star of this picture. Even so, his plot and plot devices remain weak and only function to be wire-thin hanger on which to place his religious criticisms and theological discussions. Some church politics and modern worship practices are fallible and perhaps in need of humorous examination. The infinitely creative and fallible Christ, however, will not be mocked. If Smith is able to inspire people to seek Jesus Christ and know the one true God through his irreverent examination of faith, then this flawed comedy should be commended. If, however, he inspires people to mock Jesus Christ and think of God as fallible and prone to fickleness like humans are, then he performs a great harm and disservice to the world that should be condemned.
For a second, I was like, holy shit, they're praising him? They
No,
actually
still,
thought it
that's
was
the
good?
most positive review I've ever heard of
and
on the entire
then
site.
right at the end, it kind of turns the corner like, oh no,
Yeah.
we can't let this go off as a good thing.
Oh shit, we're
I've
saying
never heard-
good stuff. Hold on,
Yeah.
we switch it.
I think like they were writing their true thoughts on it, and then they're like, oh, hold on, we need to turn this back around so that it's...
Add some crazy into that.
Yeah.
I just saw this too. To add on, let's see. There's no they say. However, Smith says through serendipity that the male authors of the Bible changed the pronouns for God from feminine to masculine. There is no textual or archaeological evidence for such a ridiculous politically correct claim. If Smith took the time to really study the actual concept of the Holy Trinity, he would know such a claim is quite stupid. Regrettably, Smith does not stop there. Not only does he depict God as female, but the female depiction he picks is a doe-eyed, dreamy wimp played by a New Age musician, Alanis Morissette. Smith's movie proposes that the reason that it often seems that his God is not actively working on Earth to stop evil and help people is because God is actually out playing skee-ball. Clearly, Smith does not fully understand the Bible's concept of God, the ideas of free will, sovereignty, and predestination, the gospel of Jesus Christ, or the responsibility of Christians to help God's church to restrain evil and promote goodness and justice.
Which is kind of funny because, like, they talk about the fact that normally God is always working. So he takes breaks here and there to go to Earth and play skee-ball. So what they're saying is God doesn't deserve a vacation.
Yeah.
He doesn't deserve
Yeah,
a break.
what a bunch of dicks.
He always has to be on point, always helping them, so he can't go play skee-ball.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't his fault he got attacked by the Stygian triplets.
All right. Thank you yet again for listening to the Showdown podcast. We really appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed this battle. And as it stands, Dogma over Road Trip. Woohoo! So congratulations to Vic. He is today's winner. And he will be going home with a home version of the Showdown podcast on his phone. Just go home, watch videos or movies, and argue with yourself in the mirror, Vic.
Nice.
That's the home version of the Showdown. We appreciate you guys listening. Please rate and review on iTunes. It really helps out. Follow and click like, all that good stuff. And for Corey Miller, Vic Miller, I'm Brad Scott. God bless you.
Goddamn right, it's a beautiful day. Goddamn right, it's a beautiful day.